Wow, I really didn't think we would ever come back to this. The return of Gojo Satoru. Honestly, one of the most sought after moments that could happen in this entire manga, with many fans alike just waiting for the opportunity to actually come. Whether you believe it or not, it is still an interesting conversation to have with people. Which makes you wonder, just how would this work and why does it even need to happen at all? You see, there are many reasons as to why this character should and shouldn't be in this series, and a lot of this is hopefully going to be covered in the manga. I know that we're all waiting for that opportunity to see some more of the Gojo clan and learn more about any of these clans in Jujutsu Kaisen, because outside of that, if we don't know anything about them, it's going to feel like wasted potential. But as I say this, when it comes to Gojo's character, some could even argue that we did not even get enough of him. Arguably, you can say that with a lot of the characters in Jujutsu Kaisen. But regardless of the fact, there was a lot of depth that came to Gojo that still feels like it wasn't tapped into. Which, as unnecessary as a return may sound to some of you, would not only make the entirety of Jujutsu Kaisen all the more interesting, but it would also make the lore in of itself that much better. Moving back, there are actually a lot more layers to Gojo's character that were left unexplored, such as his loneliness and his greed. One thing that I really wanted to go in more depth with this character was his thought process. I know usually in mangas we don't really get how people think or what their true intentions are, but with Gojo, trying to realize his true intentions makes his character just so much more interesting, especially when we consider the very fact that he will go through whatever lengths and even sacrifice civilians if he has to. What kind of mentality would it really take for him to develop this kind of mindset? I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of things that you and I can both agree on when it comes to wanting to see a little bit more out of this character. I will say I definitely enjoy the direction the story is taking, but I would be lying to myself if I didn't say that there was definitely way more potential to this character than what everyone is really giving him credit for. Granted, a lot of people hype the character up, and also you have a lot of people that hate him, whether you like him because he's the strongest or you like him because he's just an interesting, cool guy with nice sunglasses. There's something to take away from Gojo. But as we get into that, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel because it helps me make more content. So go ahead and hit that like button. I definitely appreciate it. And watch the video all the way until the end. But there's many reasons as to why everyone thinks this character can make a comeback, believe it or not. With the simplest reason being, well, only half of his body was cut off and his head wasn't cut off. So there is a possibility that he could actually just be regenerating off screen. Now, as simple as this sounds, and as crazy as it may be, it actually does make some sense. Because, like we had before with Toji didn't end up cutting off his head and he was able to regenerate. Now, given the same circumstances, would that really be a possibility here? You just have to ask yourself one thing. Does Gojo have enough cursed energy to turn it into reverse curse technique and revive his whole entire body after losing so much energy when it comes to this fight with Sukuna? So can Gojo just regenerate and actually just end up being alive the entire time after this fight? It's really hard to say, but I'm not going to rule out the possibility because then again, he doesn't have his head, but I personally feel like he does not have enough cursed energy to make this situation work. And after everything is said and done, it definitely looks like he died, definitively. Now, when it comes to this death, this brings a lot of questions, because if we analyze the death of Gojo, once again, if you've seen my previous video, we mentioned the North and the South, with Nanami saying if you want to start anew, you can head north, and if you want to return to your old self, head south. Now, this was just mere speculation in the last video, but now things somewhat begin to make a lot more sense, because when we actually analyze and look at the death of Gojo, there are a lot of details that actually do end up pointing towards his own comeback. Now, in my last video, I also brought up the very fact that he could end up being a cursed spirit because his body would not be purified due to Sukuna's attack not being aimed at him, which I definitely think is a solid possibility, because there's one thing that definitely matters a lot in this series, and that would have to do with the soul. Because I can definitely run with the idea that Gojo is dead in this moment, or is at least dying. Now, let's just say he's dead. If we take a close look at everything, we can see a lotus. Now, do you know what this flower is actually symbolism for, let alone a representation of? Well, this flower is actually very tightly connected with reincarnation and rebirth. And with Nanami mentioning the North and the South, this has everything to do with reincarnation and rebirth. And of course, in the entire Culling Games arc, we've had sorcerers of the past incarnate into the bodies of modern citizens, people who are living their everyday lives in Japan. Now just think about that. This shows us that incarnation, let alone reincarnation, are possibilities that shouldn't really be ruled out, especially when we have the lotus flower being shown during Gojo's death, which, like I said, is associated with rebirth and reincarnation. Now, no matter what kind of angle we decide to look at this entire situation in, it still points to the possibility of a comeback, and you're going to see why. Death is something humans fear and detest. However, humans linger beyond it as well, meaning humans still exist even after dying. Now, if we apply this logic and this statement to what happened to Gojo and his death, this still points to a possibility of him actually being alive. But it gets even crazier than that. Like I said, the lotus flower is associated with reincarnation, and there are still many questions to this manga that we don't know. We don't know exactly what the Six Eyes are and what they do, outside of the fact that they help him with his abilities and cursed energy control and all of the other power-related stunts that the Six Eyes can perform. There's still a lot more to it than just that. You see, the Star Plasma Vessel, the Six Eyes, and Kenjaku are all connected by fate. In the past, Kenjaku has twice lost to sorcerers of the Six Eyes. After the second time, he took no chances. He killed the Star Plasma Vessel and Six Eyes less than 1 month after they were born. Nonetheless, on the day of the merging, the Six Eyes and Star Plasma Vessel appeared. After that, Kenjaku switched to sealing instead of eradicating the Six Eyes and began searching for the Prism Realm, because two bearers of the Six Eyes cannot exist at the same time. So no matter what Kenjaku did, every time he killed a Six Eyes user, they would end up coming back. The Six Eyes could actually be linked to reincarnation themselves, with every Six Eyes user actually just being a reincarnation of the last Six Eyes user from the past. Gojo himself might actually be a reincarnation of previous Six Eyes users, and he would become another reincarnation because the Six Eyes will come back because they are connected by fate, and Gojo would eventually reincarnate. Now, when is this gonna happen? Where is this gonna happen? This is something that is really insane to think about. And the lotus flower during Gojo's death is really an eye-opener for this possibility, because they wouldn't show this lotus flower for no reason. Now, we take in the fact that the Six Eyes is something that's gonna keep coming back, and we take Nanami's statement about starting anew and heading north, or returning to your old self by heading south. This all points to reincarnation, because humans will linger beyond death. And the Six Eyes coming back is proof of all of this. The very fact that Kenjaku would live for thousands of years and have to kill every single Six Eyes user, with every single Six Eyes user only existing at one time, with one body, one soul, and one mind, really just shows that the Six Eyes is a piece of reincarnation. This makes a lot of room for a time skip into the Heian era where we can finally see Gojo in his strongest and most malicious form, having him reincarnate and finally ending Sukuna and Kenjaku. But as I get into all of this, again, humans linger beyond death. And as I say this, one Six Eyes user will exist at one time, because when you really think about it, it's one person in a literal sense. So this essentially means that Gojo has been fighting Kenjaku for thousands of years, with each and every Six Eyes user reincarnating and foiling all of his plans, while Kenjaku would be able to find different ways when it comes to stopping and combating Six Eyes users that are being reincarnated. Now, I think that is the most believable method of Gojo coming back, because not only is there multiple instances of proof that really just point to reincarnation being a possibility in the manga, whether it be the lotus flower or the fact that they say that humans can linger beyond death, and the fact that Six Eyes users all come back after they die. Everything just points to reincarnation. But another point that is actually possible is the very fact that maybe even Gojo could become a cursed spirit because he did not get purified by Sukuna's attack, because the attack in of itself was not actually being targeted at Gojo. But then again, when we look at this same fight, Gojo does not get cursed. He ends up dying with a smile on his face, with satisfaction. So can you really say that he would come back as a cursed spirit when he is dying and passing on happily? It's really hard to say. So it really just points to the Six Eyes coming back. And this would all happen because of its connection through fate. But then again, Toji ended up breaking everyone free from their destinies. So is everything happening the way it's supposed to happen, or is everything happening in the way that it's not? So is Gojo destined to reincarnate again, or is something else entirely going to happen, such as him possibly taking the form of a cursed spirit, or Gojo will probably never even get the chance to reincarnate at all? But that really just depends on how this whole destiny thing is actually supposed to work. Something is also very strange, because one thing that Gojo mentions when he's fighting Sukuna, he says, "I'll worry about Megumi after I kill you." Now, how is Megumi going to come back after being killed? Is there some method or some way to bring Megumi back after killing the person who has his own body? This is an area that also could be explored. Just how would Megumi be able to live after Gojo would kill him? So, knowing this, there is probably a method to keep people alive even after death. We don't know what that is, but it really looks possible right now. Then there is the cursed object possibility. Now, what if someone were to take the Six Eyes out of Gojo's body and then devour them, letting them become a vessel for Gojo? Because after all, Gojo can use the Limitless. However, other people cannot use this technique because they would need to possess a special eye. Now, if someone were to eat the Six Eyes and take in Gojo's cursed energy, then it really makes you wonder what could really happen when we have numerous cases of cursed objects being devoured, whether it be the wombs or even Sukuna himself. With these examples, what's really stopping the Six Eyes from being an outlet when it comes to letting Gojo's soul exist in another body and still use all of his proper techniques? But with that being said, then again, Gojo could just be dead, and the only one here to fulfill his place could really just be Yuta, and that could be the end of it. But I definitely think it is possible that Gojo can reincarnate. This lotus flower wouldn't be shown for no reason. Humans would not be able to exist after death for no reason. And Six Eyes users would not come back after dying every single time. Is this a coincidence? Let me know what you guys think down below.